Please ignore any background sounds you may hear. I am recording in a room that is private and small. Someone's vacuuming. I don't know why they're doing that in the quiet room, but whatever. Okay. Hello, my name is Marvin. I'm 17 and I'm autistic. Trust me, you'll be able to tell the longer I talk. I wanted to come and talk pretty simply about what autism is all about. Yeah, there's no really good way to define exactly what autism is, but it's mostly where you're like a social disaster and you really like to do the same things over and over. It sounds a bit blunt, but there really isn't much of a better way to put it. Being autistic, when I put it that way, honestly sounds like really simple, but I assure you it certainly isn't. It's much more complex depending on where you kind of align on the spectrum of low functioning to high functioning. Some people think the spectrum's like a circle. I still see it as like a line. It's easier for my tiny brain to understand. Me and my parents honestly didn't know I was autistic for a really long time. I didn't actually get diagnosed until I was 16. Most people with autism tend to get diagnosed really early in their childhood, so I was a special case. I also have ADHD, so I was like all over the place and super selfish. So we all thought it was just the ADHD for the longest time, but my parents had no idea that there's something brewing very deep beneath all of that. For me, my autism can affect me at varying levels. I'm very passionate about the things I'm into. I'm obsessed with D&D or Dungeons and Dragons and look at the different my own stories, just about demons, characters, like all that type of stuff that I write about. You would know if you spoke to me for longer than like 2 minutes. And back when I was younger, I was really obsessed, unhealthily obsessed with this Minecraft series. If you know of AFMAO, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was really bad to the point where I would spend weeks in my parents' basement just watching the series for like hours at a time, eating all the food in the house. I spent from like grade 5 to grade 8 drawing comics and just drawing. I had things all over my corkboard at the time. It was nuts. It was my whole personality. It was all I would talk about. It would be all I would ever talk to my friends about. I tried to be the characters. I'm very grateful I could not dye my hair blue, because if I could have, I would have. I was also very obsessed with Undertale, and that started my not like other girls phase. I am not a girl. And Animal Crossing, which was slightly better, but was still really bad because I was like 7 and playing it every day when I got home and being scared of the little mole that pops up when you forget to save your game. I'm absolutely terrible when it comes to picking up social cues. I also really do not like loud noises or really bright lights. I have much stronger reactions to textures and tastes I do not like. I also stim. It's my way of getting excited energy out. Stimming is basically just like a repeated physical action and stuff that people do. Anybody can stim, honestly. It could just be, just you kind of like help people jump for joy, that type of thing. But autistic people tend to do it a lot more and way other, like more situations and stuff. Stimming can usually just be things like flapping your hands, but it could also include jumping around, shaking your body like you're having a seizure, and even biting things. That includes people. I would like to send a personal apology to my friend Fritz, who has been bitten by me before. Now, let's take a peek at some of the actual symptoms. Back and forth conversations are a nightmare, so are just normal conversations where you need to talk. Eye contact? Nope. Bad. Too intimate. Making and keeping friends is really hard because you just don't really get the things they do. Like, I had to make up imaginary friends because I didn't get the concept of it. You really like repetition, lining up things as a kid, repeating words, and just saying weird stuff in general. Like, if your friend said something really funny, you'd be like, oh, that's funny. I'm going to say that over and over again until it's not funny anymore. Small shift in the routine, your day's ruined. Like, you're going to wear a certain outfit for the day, and then your parents are like, I don't like that outfit, wear this one, and then you just cry and you don't leave the house. Hyperfixations, you become super attached to an interest to the point where it becomes the only thing you can think and talk about, as I mentioned previously. Sometimes you do not care about being in pain, but boy, do you care about how a microphone squeals or how that wool sweater felt on your skin. Sometimes you even get really attached to smells or textures, and you can't stop smelling or touching them. I really like smelling Comet bleach. That may explain a bit about me. I also really enjoy certain blankets. Certain blankets feel nice. I also really, really like the texture of most exfoliants. Also, lights are really cool. Sarcasm, irony, white lies, I don't understand them. You might actually get along better with people older than you, or you prefer talking to them more. Clumsiness is almost unavoidable, and tiptoe walking actually happens a lot. I do it when I go up the stairs. You're really clumsy and do that type of stuff because your motor functions are just completely Stupid. Have you ever been doing something and slowly or suddenly stop doing it? That's a thing that happens that's also related to your motor stuff sucking. Also, dentists are a nightmare. So are haircuts. It's too many sensations. Ugh. As a kid with autism, some really noticeable signs with me, at least, was my complete inability to share anything with anyone, especially since I was fixated on the objects I was holding. I would swing at people if you tried to take away like a doll I was holding. I would beat you with that doll. I never started conversations either, and I always sort of like hid myself with the stuff that satisfied my need for a good texture, which was usually a sand pit. If you pointed at something, I would not look anywhere near you wanted me to look. I was stupid. I struggled with expressing myself properly as a kid. From like cartoons and stuff, I picked up having really dramatic facial expressions and over-the-top gestures to make sure everybody knew exactly what I was feeling. Not like I was having emotional tantrums every single time I got a math question wrong. Something really important I want to note is that yes, there is a spectrum. Some forms of autism can be missed completely in early childhood because it isn't as severe or completely overshadowed by another condition. Like what happened with me with my ADHD. It sucks because you go your whole life just thinking you're just weird and you're different when in reality, you're just autistic. You also might just get misdiagnosed with ADHD. Like, I might not even have ADHD. I do have ADHD. I'm coping. You could also be misdiagnosed with schizophrenia and other types of intellectual disorders. Now, I'm going to run you through a little activity to at least give you an idea of what overstimulation is like for me, especially when I was a little kid. Overstimulation is a thing with autism. It's a thing that we know really well. When you get older, it kind of becomes a bit harder to become overstimulated. But trust me, as a kid, nightmare. I am going to run you through it, and I'm going to try to keep it more close to autism overstimulation than ADHD overstimulation. So let's set the scene. You're in like grade 2. Your teacher's wearing a really fuzzy sweater. Looks ugly, texture looks awful. The class is rowdy, there's a bit of a thunderstorm outside, and since the sky is dark, teacher has all the lights on. She assigns you to read a short story and reflect on it. Things are a bit much, but you can do it.
Ben and his dad went fishing. His dad took some worms. They got on a boat. The boat was in Pine Lake. Ben's dad drove the boat. He knows where to find the fish. Ben liked the boat ride. Ben put a worm on the hook. He put his line in the water. He felt the pole pull. Was it a fish? He reeled it in. He did not get a fish. Ben got an old can.
You read it, it's fine. You might even finish early, but a classmate next to you needs help reading a word on the page. Your teacher gives you a new short story since you're done, but when she's turning to help your classmate, a bit of her big sweater touches your hand or something. And as you thought, texture's awful. You're a child. You don't know the strategies to handle bad sensations like this. Heart races, and you just want to scratch your hand until it goes away.
Look, Mom. See what a pretty fish. It is a little trout, said John to his mother. John's mother asked, where did you get it, John? Frank caught it in the brook.
Everything keeps getting louder and louder, brighter, too much, and then the sound of lightning rings through the air, and bam. You have a meltdown. This is what my life was like when I was a child. Everyone thought I just had behavioral problems, when in reality, I just didn't know what to do with myself because I was autistic and I didn't know how to help myself. Might be wondering what causes autism. Well, I can tell you right now, it's not certain. Some people associate it with having epilepsy. Some people say it's caused from being exposed to chemicals, being born too early, having a low birth weight, being vaccinated for some reason. Sometimes it just forms out of a genetic mutation, and it can also pass down from a parent to a child. No one really knows for sure, but it would make my life a lot easier if I knew the causes. I would love to know if I breathed in some chemicals and now I can't talk to people properly. Now, probably wondering, is there a cure? No, there's not. Treatments, though, everywhere. It kind of depends where you are on the spectrum, but there's a ton of therapies that can be used, like behavioral management therapy, occupational therapy, and speech-language therapy, and also just therapy in general. There are antipsychotics you can take if you're a threat to yourself, but I don't take those, and I don't know anybody else who does. It's probably just for kids with really bad behavioral issues. Big issue, though, is the cost. Behavioral therapy can cost over $300 a session. Occupational therapy can cost over $3,200 overall. It does help you with your future and stuff, but that's still a lot of money. And speech therapy can cost $190 a session too. It can be really hard to actually get the help you need. So, how autism affects you throughout your life isn't really well understood either. Most studies focus only on like kids under 12 and not really adults, especially elderly people. I have no idea what to expect when I get old, except the only thing that they have stated is that elderly people are socially withdrawn. Yay! Stigma. We all know what stigma is. It's sort of like a really bad rumor, I guess. It's like something that makes you feel embarrassed or ashamed. Like, let's say, like, if a ton of people thought having, like, the common cold was a sign of being weak and being unworthy of living in a normal society, a lot more people would feel embarrassed about having it and wouldn't say that that's the reason why they had to stay home from school that day. I bring up stigma because there is a ton of stigma around autism, and I'm going to mention some of the stigma I've noticed about it. Here's one of them. All autistic people are unable to talk and are really dumb. This is a really stupid and harmful bit of stigma and a stereotype. Autistic people who are incapable of speech are low on the spectrum, but it doesn't mean they're not smart. Also, there's a whole other part of the spectrum that has people capable of talking and living normally, if that's how you prefer to think of it. If everybody thought autistic people were only on one end of the spectrum, many people wouldn't be believed if they said they were autistic, which I'm about to mention. You don't look autistic, though. What? How does someone look autistic? As said before, autism is such a huge spectrum. You cannot tell if someone is autistic purely by looking at them. Now, using it as an insult and the R slur. We've all definitely heard somebody call someone or something autistic as an insult. Maybe it's calling them dumb or calling a situation dumb, but it honestly doesn't matter. Using autism as an insult makes people like me who overhear it feel really uncomfortable. Now, R slur is another thing that makes me and other autistic people feel pretty uncomfortable. Opinions on it vary, but it's well known that the word is used to describe people with intellectual disabilities in a demeaning way. When I hear someone calling something or somebody else retarded, or even calling me retarded, which has happened before, it makes me feel, well, really uncomfortable and upset. And it's such a widely accepted term. It's so frustrating. It doesn't make sense to me. Oh, I heard this is a symptom of autism from TikTok. I'm probably No, you are almost 100% not autistic. No, sleeping on your side is not a sign of autism. No, sleeping with your arms in a weird way is not a sign of autism. Sticking your arm into the air is not a sign of autism. Look up the actual symptoms from the DSM-5 or see an actual doctor if you think you might be autistic. TikTok is not the place to diagnose yourself. Now, that's a lot. But I want to say that this stigma is not impossible to combat. It's really easy to educate yourself, but it can be more difficult to educate others. So my plan to combat stigma is, well, this, telling my story of being autistic. You've heard me talk, but I'd like you to spread the word around. If you hear somebody calling a situation autistic or calling someone the R slur, don't be afraid to step in. Trust me, it makes people who are like me feel a lot more comfortable. And trust me, autistic people are really cool. They're like the nicest people you meet because they spend so much time studying how to be normal and like other people that they're genuinely just the nicest people and will understand if you're having problems fitting in. Now, don't jump to conclusions when someone tells you that they're autistic as well. It might not show on the outside, but you will see it in their behaviors if you actually pay attention. And please, don't self-diagnose off of TikTok or WebMD or whatever. I really hope this has been meaningful and has helped you understand what autism is and has truly reduced some or like all of the common autism stigma. Probably hasn't, but at least it's giving you an idea on it or something. And this script is 6 pages long. I hope my future throat's okay. It is, surprisingly, and my drawings did not become too lazy. That's all though, so I'll let you go now. Goodbye.